And we are live. We are live. We are here. It's Tuesday, 7:30, like we told you we would be. 7:30 every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. live on all platforms. We are live. What are we going to talk about today? Well, it's quite simple, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do a Super Bowl recap. Yes, we're going to hit the halftime show. No, we're not. We're not going to talk about the halftime show, even though that is a hot topic right now of Kendrick Lamar's genes, his what does his music mean? It's too deep for some people, not deep for enough. Either way, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the important stuff, like who's on the roster, who's gone, quarterback options, uh, uh, fundamental pieces, plus the leftovers from last week. We wanted to talk about the East West Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl recap. We're going to talk all about all that and more on this show today. Guys, it's been a minute, but we're here. Super Bowl. How do you guys like it? Did you watch it? Do you like the commercials? Were you guys excited? Were you falling asleep after the first quarter?
I'll be really quick. First and foremost, James Frank just yelled mustard in the chat. I don't know why, but it's there. I love mustard. It's my favorite condiment.
That's Kendrick Lamar.
So. Oh, all right. So here's my. I watched the whole first half, and then I fell asleep at halftime. Woke up in the third quarter, and then we left. Came back home. I was at my neighbors across the street, and finished watching it in bed. That was about it.
My story is, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I did not even watch it. I didn't. I was exhausted. I kept track of it. I have my phone, and I was watching like the stats and stuff move. But I've had a crazy weekend, and by the time the Super Bowl even started, I was too tired, man. I was doing dad stuff. But I do regret not watching it because I do like Kendrick Lamar, even though I don't listen to his music as much anymore. I do like Kendrick. I do like his music in general, and I was kind of excited, but I had things to do. Sorry. I did miss Taylor. I did miss seeing Taylor Swift. I was hoping Kelsey and Taylor Swift would propose and get married all together. It'd be a Super Bowl celebration.
Didn't work out.
Yeah, it didn't. It just didn't happen for anybody.
Would have been the only one getting a ring for the Chiefs that night.
Oh, to be fair, most of them on that team already have one. So
yes.
True. How about you, Chad?
That was Kareem Hunt's chance to slap on some jewelry. I actually was on that same track of like, I don't really care about the Super Bowl at all. It's a rematch. I think the Eagles play a fun brand of football, and I actually, unlike most people, do not mind the Chiefs. I think watching Patrick Mahomes is always exciting. But by Sunday, I was just kind of like blah. But I had friends getting together for it, so I went and watched, and it's like one of the worst Super Bowls ever. Like it was just, it was over before it started. Like the only thing you had in your mind is like maybe there's like a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs miracle, but like you just weren't seeing anything. It wasn't even like New England when they had a comeback. It was like there was no signs of life, and it almost seemed like by halftime they were like, well, we've won plenty. Maybe this isn't our year. Like it did feel like we've already won this a bunch. It's not our year. It just didn't look at any point like they were going to make a run.
Yeah, I did text you guys. I had a feeling the Eagles are going to win, and I'm not just saying that because I have family there. But I just had this feeling like I think not. Now a lot of people have been crapping on Kansas City as if like they haven't won anything the last couple of years. They're like making fun of them. It's like, bro, they literally won 2 Super Bowls back to back, and you guys are saying how much they suck. Like, I mean, it's hard to three-peat. Like, it's really hard. No one's ever done it. So to sit there and crap on the Kansas City Chiefs like that is hilarious to me. And I don't understand the hate for Kansas City and Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, she minds her business. She's just sitting there supporting her dude. Like I love a good love story. This is a good love story. It's not just good for the NFL. It's good for those who want love. Like why can't we support those who want love? Like come on. But I did have a feeling that I think all the talk about how Kansas City was going to smack Philly in the face. I think they came in motivated and they actually played like we're going to smack you in the face and showed.
Yeah. Adam, thank you for joining the show. He says, here to say hi, gents, and Mike. And then James Frank says, y'all didn't hear? Swift left Kelsey for Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, he seems to be the hot guy right now. Yeah. But yeah, the Super Bowl was okay. I I didn't get. You guys like any of the commercials? Not too many of the commercials were brought up.
No, I was not super hyped about the commercials.
The
This is
Doritos
the
commercial was
least
the best.
commercial buzz ever.
Mm.
There was one or two that were funny, but like nothing. I mean, nothing like was incredible. I don't know.
Doritos
Yeah.
where he got abducted.
The game is always the main attraction for me. I'm not huge on the commercials. It's nice when you do get one that's funny. The halftime show, you're going to see better concerts in the halftime show.
I was sawing logs. Oh,
Yeah, and you called it, Mike. You called it. You said
So-
someone was going to drop out, and then you said Chad's going to drop out. Up there, he's
because
back.
I kicked him off. I kicked him off.
back.
I just
Mike
booted
called that in the
Chad.
beginning.
Oh.
He called that in the beginning of the show.
Oh, what just happened? You just moved to Chad's spot. That is weird. All right, so let me fix this.
Chad, he's getting you fixed. Yeah, he called it. You said that he's going to blame you for it, and he said you booted me off. My internet's perfect, Mike. What are you doing to me?
I mean, that's
That
perfect.
wasn't
What are you doing?
right.
This
I
is
couldn't
something new
believe
you're
it.
doing. I want to be on the show. I swear.
I'm Chad currently, and Chad and
No, I
Angel
fixed
is.
that.
Oh, you did. Oh,
Yeah, we're good.
that's right. I'm being
Anyway,
honest. I'm
The
looking
one
at my
Doritos
phone.
Well, I
commercial
mean,
I want to talk about really quick, Chad. The
Okay.
one Doritos commercial, come on, where the guy stuck his finger through the hole and he's like, it only likes Doritos. And there was a guy behind it sitting at a desk and he sees the finger pop through the hole.
Oh
the guy
man.
just reaches over and sucks the cheese off the dude's finger. That was the best commercial to me.
So gross.
That's so
Very
nasty.
But
Very.
yeah, the halftime show at least wasn't gimmicky. I like Kendrick Lamar, so I was fine with it. I thought he laid a little bit of heat, but the game, like, it just wasn't anything to write home about it. If you missed it, or if you just, I mean, there was better playoff games. I'd put it that way. There was much better playoff games than the Super Bowl. But again, a three-peat is pretty challenging to do, and I don't know. You can only lay so much heat on the Chiefs. They've been to the Super Bowl constantly, and they win it most of the time. So whatever. I think the biggest thing you could take away from it is just looking at these teams. Like, the Chiefs have problems all over the place, but have an incredible defense and just maybe the best quarterback in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got like the opposite, like, that goes to kind of my take and several of ours of like, hey, if you can get yourself a quarterback behind center, you can turn everything around. And then the Eagles are kind of the opposite, which is ironic since that was, I believe, kind of the template that the Browns were trying to follow in building a team, which was like build all over the place. But that just takes so much consistency to put that many positions in place. But they have great offensive line. They have a great defensive line. They have the best running back probably in the game right now. They have two elite level receivers. Who could probably both be a wide receiver one. And then Jalen Hurts, people have mixed reviews on him.
He plays in the big game though. Whenever
you look at his stats through the playoffs and tell me that's not a top level quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, when even in Alabama and even when he was in Oklahoma, when those moments of the big stage came, he was ready to shine. And that's something you can't take away from. Also, I would like to point out the fact that the front four of the Philadelphia Eagles, they generated so much pressure. They didn't need to blitz anybody else other than the four. So that shows you, I mean, and obviously that's the blueprint everyone's going to follow now to beat Kansas City. Is rush your front four, get your best front four as possible. They had zero blitzes other than the front four, and they had 6 sacks, just the front four alone. Just 4 of them. It's insane. It's insane. Like that's the type of stuff you need.
Is don't even give Mahomes like a second to like set up. But I just think it's one of those things though too, for like a Browns pod or like a Browns show, just to kind of take a look at like, where are the Browns compared to this? And like, for everybody out there that thinks the Browns are a Super Bowl roster, top 5 roster in the league, I just don't see how you can watch those two teams play and go, yeah, we've got that. But I do think I still stick to my guns with the fastest way to create a constant contender is a consistently good quarterback, not the Philadelphia method of like build everything up and then plug a second rounder with like really high upside in there. And it's just, I mean, it's this shows it can happen. You can get a quarterback that's not a first rounder, and he can not only compete for a Super Bowl more than once, but he can win it. But you still have to find somebody that, regardless of where you picked him, turns into a top level quarterback because
Yeah.
the amount of people out there that are like, see, you don't need a good quarterback to win. Like, did you even? The
He's
guy
a
was
good
like
quarterback.
flawless. He was
Yeah,
incredible.
he's a good
Like
quarterback. It's
he
not Kenny
wasn't picked
Pickett
first
back
in the
there.
draft, but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like they found him. So I've never said at one point like the Browns have to pick second. What I've said is that's where you control the board. Everything after that, you are at the whims of the other team. So for everybody out there that's like, just pick a quarterback at 33. Well, you can't predict that somebody won't jump you and pick him at 32. Like you don't have the full control of the situation anymore. So
I'm gonna hit 2 of these comments and then we're gonna move on. Sam says, I didn't turn on the Super Bowl till the 2-minute warning. I'm glad the ELGELS won.
No one could spell that. It was insane.
That was great.
Like,
and I'm not going to read the rest of it. Says, how do you win a Super Bowl and your team tears up their own town? I'll never get it. Then Colton says, Mahomes only had 33 yards in the first half is crazy stat. But here, you guys know another crazy stat is this year, CJ Stroud, Houston Texans quarterback, was blitzed 54% of the time. The Eagles, 53% of the time. The Eagles this week blitzed Patrick Mahomes 54% of the time. And they got, 6 sacks on him?
6 sacks,
That's the most he's ever been sacked.
Yeah, and he felt it.
Yeah.
That's why he's throwing those balls. That's why he threw a couple of picks. When you get pressure in his face, any quarterback will get nervous and throw balls like that. Speaking of quarterbacks, recent stories on the quarterbacks to the Browns. Are you ready for these? Of course, we've heard it all day today.
I love these.
Aaron Rodgers. So you guys tell me, do you feel confident in a team getting to the Super Bowl or even the playoffs if you had, we'll go to the second one after this one, Aaron Rodgers under center?
No, I don't at all. Not one bit at all. And I know Chad says that his injury, the same as Kirk Cousins, should be better this year. I don't put faith in
the tough thing, though, about that is typically the year after a major surgery, whether it's shoulder for a quarterback or whether it's Achilles for anybody or like patellar tendon, those like super major surgeries, the next year is going to be rough. Maybe not for the whole year, but for long enough that you're not going to have a great year. The problem with this one is you'd expect the late in that season, you'd start to come around, and with a whole off season and the next year, you should start great. The problem with both Cousins and then now Rodgers is they're old. So it's not like they're 28. They have a surgery. The year they're 29 is rough, but they come around late. And then the next year they're 30 and they're like right back to themselves. People that are 40 years old, 37 years old, etc., don't get back to themselves. Like you're already on the decline. So yes, I expect him to be better than this year, but I don't think he's going to be back to his old self from 2022, the last time he actually played healthy. Like it'd be hard to believe like a guy that age is turning back the clock. Like he just, that's what makes me nervous. So I think you add him. I think he's much better than what we had, but also we know he's not very coachable. He's a guy that can get coaches fired. He's difficult to work with. And like, I just don't know. The Browns are not like, just throw this guy in and then we'll go straight to the Super Bowl. So it's worth the risk. Like the Browns are looking to like stabilize. And so I can have a bridge quarterback, but if you're going to go the short-term route, he might be one of the most talented people there, but I'm just not sure
and we're going to get more
the risk is worth it
as well.
Aaron Rodgers reminds me of an NFL version of LeBron. Like he'll come to your team and he's going to want you to make moves that don't make sense. And New York has experienced that. He wants all his receivers. He had perfect receivers and Wilson's and a couple other young people, but he didn't want that. So they scrapped his whole team, got his coach fired. His whole team is scrapped up. Jets sucked because of him. And now he's going to leave. And fans are saying, well, maybe if he comes here, he can be good. No, he hasn't won a Super Bowl since 2010. Like he hasn't won a Super Bowl in 15 years. He hasn't been relevant since then. Even he still struggled after that Super Bowl. So I think having him on here would be just as bad as having Deshaun Watson play.
Feels like such a long shot, man. He's just so far out of like what they want the culture to return to here.
I agree.
If they had problems with Baker Mayfield not like falling in line with what they wanted to do, I mean, what are you thinking about with Aaron Rodgers, who's on his own podcast like constantly, or on
Pat
Rogan or
McAfee.
somewhere. Pat McAfee, like he's like the type of guy who just like would love to be on like mid-season, midweek on a major podcast telling people about like what his problems are. Like, that does not fall under the Browns to me.
Do you have anything to say about Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. Don't turn into a hippie.
He is.
Do drugs and don't play for the Cleveland Browns. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
But Mary Kay Cabot's. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Angel.
No, you're gonna go ahead.
Mary Kay Cabot's new rumor possibility for the Cleveland Browns quarterback would be Kenny Pickett, and that is one that I'm not completely against. And I'm not going to say it just because the guy just won a Super Bowl. I'm not going to be that guy. And he did throw a touchdown in the Super Bowl, but
dude, people love the idea of like this guy has been to a Super Bowl. If he comes to the Browns, he brings a Super Bowl pedigree. Like I've heard that so many times. I heard that about our safety. People were talking about
Thornhill, right?
Thornhill, like, oh, he's a Super Bowl level player. Like he's been to the Super Bowl. He brings you a Super Bowl pedigree. I'm like, dude, you're either good or you're not that good. And so I don't want to hear about what game a team carried you through.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Thornhill on the show. I message him all the time on Facebook. He ignores me. But go ahead, Mike.
I think Kenny Pickett would be a good addition. He's 26 years old, and it's going to bring us into the next scenario here that we have to talk about with bridging a quarterback. But
there's other names that would be more disturbing to me. He seems like a guy that I don't have very much faith, because people will say like, well, you just watched like Sam Darnold as a reclamation project and Baker Mayfield came back and did this and that. And I don't think Kenny Pickett ever had that level of talent as those guys, even before he came out of the draft.
No.
He was definitely a guy that was like overdrafted, which is not a term I like, but nobody thought he was a first round quarterback. It was like not even like what people will talk about some of the guys this year. Like it's a weaker class. Like this is pretty much unanimously, nobody thought he should get picked in the first round, and he got taken by a team picking late that thought like, we don't have a quarterback, this is worth the risk. But like he just doesn't have that upside. But in this system is a great system for taking somebody of that level of quarterback play, which might be closer to Jake Brisket, Jacoby Brissett than it is to like a Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold. Guys that were more elite traits, but like just needed a better situation to like really get going, or like some kind of like eye opening to take things like a little differently. But like Kenny Pickett seems like he could put in the work. He seems like he'd be the type of person, the type of like mid quarterback that this system could hide the flaws of. I just don't think we're going very far with that. Yeah. But if he's going to end up eventually the backup, whether he's a bridge or whatever.
He bridged to backup, I think would be a good. But are you guys on more for get a quarterback early in the draft, or signing a backup, or signing a late quarterback and a bridge?
I'll go first, I guess. I would be all for bridging a quarterback, because bridge to me is bringing a guy in for a whole year or a portion of the year to either let this guy come into the NFL and learn the game, a bridge quarterback. You draft a guy, you bring this guy into bridge for the year or a majority of the year. You teach him and maybe throw him out there the last couple games if we're a down season again, or you play him in the beginning. And I mean, because it's Cleveland fans, this is what's going to happen. No matter what quarterback we bring in, his first 2 or 3 interceptions, everybody's going to boo him.
It happens every year.
It's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Bridge quarterback to me, bring a guy in, train the guy that we draft, hopefully make him playable, and maybe we could find a diamond in the rough in the later round. I honestly, it's a toss-up right now. That's all this year's quarterback draft is, a toss-up.
I'm still very nervous about the overall Browns fan like hope. If it's just hope, it's fine. But I think some Browns fans have like kind of hammered down into the take of like, we gotta like find a later guy. And it makes me very nervous that in a draft that everybody's saying is really weak, that's the year that Browns fans want to pull somebody later. Like last year, if it's like, well, let's take Spencer Rattler, because in some years he might be a first rounder, but he's only falling because there's so many
good
high level
ones.
quarterbacks that he slides. Like, that's more of a year where I'm like, let's grab a late rounder. The year where it's like there's like only 2 good guys up top and everybody else is kind of a mix. That makes me nervous, but it doesn't mean that Will Howard or Jackson Dart or whoever can't actually play the game. I'm still way more on the side of, if you control the board at 2 and you think whichever quarterback or both, you have someone there that can be a franchise quarterback, I would rather go that route and take my chances there and fill in like a backup veteran quarterback that may need to either start the season in quote bridge or even just be a guy in the room. Like, that is still my preference, but I would never push that, because I see people out there that are like, quarterback number 2, you have to take a quarterback. I don't think that's true. I think there is no situation you have to take a quarterback if you don't think that guy's a franchise quarterback.
I agree, man. I agree.
That's the best case scenario for us, is that one of them is.
Yeah, I agree. I'm starting to lean toward that. And Sam said Kenny Pickett would probably be an elite quarterback if they made the football smaller. Because he got small hands.
My cousin just texted me, Aaron Rodgers does not deserve all the hate, but he is a diehard Green Bay fan. So I can't.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Stop it. He does. He's the worst. Like,
a lot of the people I know that hate him are Green Bay fans. They're just so mad that he so underachieved while being so good in that franchise.
One of the greatest quarterbacks. He's a great quarterback. The problem is he doesn't have
incredible.
He doesn't have the credentials to sit there and be like, well, here's it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So I think you do. Yeah, I this is what I think. You definitely need a bridge quarterback. A bridge quarterback gets you to the next quarterback, right? So what you don't want to do is get a rookie quarterback, especially in this round, draft somebody in this draft and start them right away. We do that constantly. And I don't care how many boos you hear. I don't care how many times Jimmy Haslam calls down on the sidelines. You do not bring this rookie in until the year after he is drafted. Give him a year of just learning.
Wow.
But let me preface this. If he's catching on, obviously, then you put him. But trending toward the Browns' history, they don't catch on right away. And we start them early and we ruin them. So you get a guy, ideally like Kirk Cousins.
The only thing we obviously need to revamp some positions on the team. I think the big difference though is we've always thrown our guys in there too early. We usually have such a trash roster. For years we had we've had good offensive lines, but for years in the first 15 or so we were drafting, we had terrible lines and the guy we brought in would get killed, or we'd have no receiving talent at all and no running backs, and so they had no anything. This year, I am always in favor of a different person starting at least the beginning of the season. But I do think if they can get the line fit back together, I would feel less worried that he's going to get absolutely devastated compared to 2014 when it was there's no one on this team.
Just make sure he's ready. Don't rush to do just to save your job. I mean, just make sure if it's Shador, that's great. Hopefully it's Ward, that's even better. But let's just be patient, fans. You're not going to fix this overnight. A guy's not going to come in. Jaden Daniels only comes in once every 4 or 5 years, and who knows what they're going to do next year. So let's not overhype ourselves.
Yeah,
on to the next topic, right?
The topic everybody wants to talk about that Chad highlighted there. He unhighlighted as soon as I said it.
Update. Myles Garrett went on his media tour this weekend. He said some stuff that was very interesting. So my question to you fellas is, has that tour changed your view on him in general? Because if you let me preface this, when the word got out that he was requesting a trade, fans were like, yeah, he deserves to be traded. Trade him to a Super Bowl contender. He deserves it. He doesn't. We don't deserve such greatness. And now things seem to be changing.
Right, Mike? I agree. Before that even happened, before this tour happened, you and I and Chad have talked about it. How many years does he realistically have left? And we agreed with his physical performance, maybe 3 to 5, at 5 at most. And that's a hard 5.
And he's got injury.
Yeah, I doubt he'll be just as good as he is now, but like 3, 4, 5 years is probably a realistic window of him being like a star pass rusher.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think with this draft coming up, which kind of confuses us because now we don't know if we have to look for an edge rusher, but we don't know if we have to look. We definitely need a quarterback. First and foremost, a quarterback. More than likely. Edge rushers, yes, and there are plenty of them in this draft that could make a huge impact on the Cleveland Browns. And you have to pick and choose your fight, Andrew Berry. This is your time to shine, dude. If Myles is gone before the draft, that's one scenario. The other scenario is, could he be playing just like pussyfooting around and now, like, say we get a quarterback that Myles likes, could Myles stay? So those are scenarios we have to look at.
If your girlfriend who wants to be ex writes you a breakup letter saying that she wants to be done with you, and like the whole world knows, are you going to want that person back?
That means she went and talked to somebody else.
People took Lamar Jackson back.
I feel like what Myles did was different than what like we knew why Lamar wanted to leave because he wanted money. Like Myles literally said, I don't care about the money. I want to be in a competitor. Yeah. He's like, I don't care how much you pay me. I'm letting you know I'm not coming back because you guys are not suitable to win. So that is like saying, listen, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And if I was to get a breakup letter like that, now I'm the Browns, I'm going to play the game, of course, but I'm going to see what I can get. But I don't see. Now, I've been wrong many times this year, especially during my playoff picks, but I just don't see this being fixed unless, I mean, maybe the quarterback thing can change it, but Myles seems to be like, I'm done.
And that's the question. So that's why. So I guess I'd put it this way. A lot of people, I've seen the narrative change exactly what you said. It was like, oh, I guess like, Myles, please stay. Or other people were like, yeah, he should go because like he deserves better, which I never think of athletes. This dude's got so much money.
I know, right?
He signed that contract. He plays hard. He gets paid every game for it. Like,
exactly.
I don't feel bad for him at all. But I've seen stuff this week where it's literally like people are like, get him out of here. He's selfish. He's I actually got in a conversation with somebody on Twitter just like a day or two ago that was like, literally texted like he's not even that elite, and I'm like, okay,
oh my gosh,
give me a friggin' break. Like all of a sudden the best defensive player in all of football is not even that good because he wants so my tune on him has not changed. He's the most elite defensive player,
for sure,
single defensive player in the league and has been for like 2 or 3 years. Maybe that doesn't stay consistent. Somebody messaged like, oh, TJ Watt's been better the whole time, and I'm like, I've been watching a full 3 years of fans bombing Pittsburgh fans about how TJ Watt's just not as good as Myles. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, TJ's better anyway, and he's more of a team guy. Like, give me a break, guys. Okay, the guy's talent level hasn't changed because he doesn't want to play in Cleveland. The other thing is, I'm completely with you that there is a chance that there is no salvaging this, but he's brought up several times. I talked to the ownership, and we want to go in different directions. So that should give everybody pause. Like, what has Jimmy and Andrew Berry talked with him about over the last few weeks that he doesn't think? I mean, the only thing I can think of is he said, like, we need a quarterback, and they said we can't. I mean, we can't promise you a quarterback. Like, we can't guarantee that. Like, we don't know what direction we're going in the draft. We still have work to do. And he said, then, if we don't have a fix for that, then I want out. But there's 2 reasons that you hold steady. One, I have heard that you can get the most for him before or during the draft because teams will say, like, there's nobody on the board that's worth like, let's just go all in for Myles. So maybe they're just going to hold out for the draft. I don't think anybody in free agency moves the needle. I've seen the pass rushers in free agency, and I don't think people are going to. That's the foster pup.
He's that foster puppy.
That's his name now, foster puppy. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, his name is Bean. It's always been Bean. Yeah. So I just think that, like, there's no reason to push it. I don't see anybody in free agency that like a team picks up and they're like, well, now we don't need Myles because we picked up like this guy. Like there's just not somebody out there in free agency that's going to like blow you away. But so I see why they're holding. Plus, from everything I've read based on the salary cap, like keeping him till this summer is incredibly beneficial for them.
Yeah.
So by that time after free agency, you could get a quarterback that makes him change his tune. If by chance you end the draft with a quarterback and they have rookie mini camps, like he might see something and be like, oh, actually this team's, they're going to go right back into competition. This kid can play. We picked up a couple free agents. We're good. I just don't see the rush, and I don't see why fans are so like butthurt about the fact. We've been complaining the whole time about how this team sucked. This year sucked. Winning 3 games sucked. We don't want this to continue. Everybody's like, fire Stefanski, fire Barry. And then this player comes out and says like, yeah, this has sucked. I didn't like tanking. Let's face it, he didn't like tanking at the end of the year, dude. He brought up the problem with the franchise when they put in DTR. He didn't like they were switching. It wasn't just the 3 wins. It was that they willingly didn't try to win the last games. And he probably felt like, I'm going out there with a bunch of bumps and bruises. We're playing so hard. And this team is trying to lose again, like they did in 2018, my rookie year, where we had, or 2017, my rookie year, when we purposely were trying to lose and I'm trying to win. He didn't like it. Like, I don't know why that's shocking. We said it both in the shows in December. That kills the culture of a team when you openly tank and they know it, because they're going out there trying to keep the mentality of we're trying to win, and the team is making it so that's not possible, and that probably pissed him off. And I don't know that they can go into another season with that mentality again, but like he has that in his head, like this team is willing to lose if they think it will benefit the franchise, and that doesn't benefit him. So I'm just not willing to like get pissed at him for that take. It's a fair take. And like he's come out and said, like, Cleveland's been cool, fans have been cool, the organization is doing things that I don't agree with, and I don't see them changing their ways. So I want to go play with someone that can contend right now while I'm in my prime. Plus, let's face it, guys, he had dealt with a lot of injuries, and he had a lot of stuff going on this year that he played through. Yeah. He's got to see his own mortality. Like, I can't do this forever, and he doesn't want to. He
might
doesn't
not want
to. Yeah, 40. Yeah, he might be like, I want to play till I'm like 33, and then I want to get the heck out of here.
I picture him doing like what Aaron Donald did. Not paying.
Yeah, I think he's 40. Thinking that. Like, I've been elite. I'm going to be a Hall of Famer by the end of next year. I don't want to do this forever, so this may be my chance. Like, teams should know that.
Somebody argued with me on that on social media. Oh, you're going to ruin his Hall of Fame career. I'm like, dude.
It's already
made
done.
Him a Hall of Famer already. What are you talking about?
It's an individual award. If he plays one more season, he's going. I think it's more of the idea of like, he doesn't want to be Aaron Rodgers. He'd rather be Aaron Donald, like you said. We talked about it. He has other interests. He likes other things in life. He knows his own mortality. He's probably just looking at this. So any team trading for him, don't expect to sign him to an 8-year extension, because I would be shocked if he finishes his 2 years, signs another 2-year deal after that, and then is like, I'm going out.
I'm done.
Good about what I did.
But a team could adhere his contract as well. I mean, with the trade, I would think include that. Pay off his $28 million a year. I think he's making right now.
Yeah, but I think some people are thinking like, we'll trade for him, and he's so good he could play till he's like 37. Like, he might not want to do that.
Not want to. Yeah.
He might finish the next 2, 3, 4 years and be like, I'm 34. I'm done. I've made all the money I need. I'm already a Hall of Famer. The one thing he can't guarantee on his resume, and he's not in control of, is that Super Bowl ring, and he doesn't want to retire without it. That's a big part of what this is all about.
And the thing is, like, even if you are traded to a team that is a contender, he should know that there's no guarantee that he's even going to win.
Correct.
So he wants to put himself in the best position to. I heard someone say that, like, there's no guarantee. Yeah, he's no guarantee he was win, but if you know the shortest path to the Super Bowl is on this team because they're winning, he wants to go there. And I get it. I'm not mad at him. I just don't like the fact that he went on national TV and talked bad about my team, even though it's kind of like, I know you're telling the truth, but say it to me. Don't say it to them. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think the reality is he probably said it to them, and they're like, "Hey, we don't have any intention of trading you."
Oh no, yeah, for sure.
Then I'm gonna make everybody out there know, and it's good for him. He lets everybody out there know he wants traded, and now teams can know, like, okay, Myles wants out so we can make serious offers because at least we know he's trying to go somewhere. And somebody said, like, this campaign kind of kills him with the fans. Yeah, it does. We're all kind of pissed at him for doing that. But just like when LeBron came back, we all turned our tune around real quick when we started, seeing buckets. And I think if this dude comes back and was like, actually, they drafted Cam Ward. I saw him at rookie camp. He looks incredible. This team actually might be going somewhere. I'm back in. This is what I wanted. Fans would turn back to him in 2 seconds. The 100%. Second he brings down Russell Wilson or Joe Burrow to start the season and be like,
we love him. He was always our guy. Yeah. He was always our guy.
Listen, we all love the guy. We all love the guy dearly. He's a Cleveland icon already. We know this. Mm-hmm. But this team does not need one guy to change what we want to happen. I think at the end of the day, there are plenty of guys in this draft right now that could take that position that are younger, that would be cheaper. Yeah. I'm not saying this to rub it in Myles Garrett's face because, like I said, we all love Myles, but
you might need 2 guys.
At the end of the day, I mean, that's possible. That's a possibility. You never know.
No, he's good. Like he does triple. We talked about it all season. He's getting triple team, poked in the eye. Like not too many people do that.
I will just say this. Everyone loves Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter is not getting triple teamed on every play.
He's not.
It's just not happening. No. He's not that big. He's not
small.
That size.
Yeah, he's
just not that size. He'll probably get double teamed if he's good enough. Even guys guys get double teamed, but he'll probably be stopped. Like it's just a different thing. But yeah, you're right, Mike. Like he's irreplaceable as this Hall of Fame level player. If somebody thinks they're bringing in Abdul Carter and that's like an Hall of Famer, like maybe, but that's a long way away. But yeah, it's not the most important piece. So if you can trade him, get good capital for him.
Yeah.
Especially including first rounders, and you can turn those into other pieces or somehow combine those and get the quarterback you want. That is a more impactful thing to your team. As much as we loved Myles Garrett, recognize how good he is. Kansas City would never trade Patrick Mahomes for Myles Garrett.
Oh, no.
No team with a starting quarterback that you'd never get Jaden Daniels for him.
No, you won't.
I said I would love to get J.J. McCarthy for him, for Christ's sake.
And that might
People will not give up a quarterback that they know is a franchise quarterback for Myles. Like you.
Dude,
agree.
Listen, I'm going to disagree with that. J.J. McCarthy? No, I don't want J.J. McCarthy. The dude can hand off the ball well. I'll give him that. Other than
because he's Michigan guy?
No, not even because he's a Michigan guy. I don't think that is going to be the Vikings' answer either. I really don't. Go ahead and play him. We're going to watch.
He was rated pretty.
Ball, really great. That's about it.
I mean, he won a national championship, man.
Yeah, well, so did the Ohio State Buckeyes, but now we're the reckoning.
But I mean, who was on his team that was good that he won a national?
Like, I could sit there and off the ball to.
I can tell you that Ohio State have 50 receivers. Yeah.
But yeah, say this, like you may not believe in J.J. McCarthy, but the Vikings, whose general manager came from the Browns, believes in him, and their head coach Kevin O'Connell, who came from the Browns, believes in him. So there's a lot of good reasons to believe the Browns would believe in him. Yeah. They think the same way. They run the same offensive system.
Another thing I want everybody to look at, with looking at quarterbacks, edge rushers, running backs, whatever you're looking at, look at that college's team's toughness of schedule. I think that's a huge part of looking at draftable players that are coming here, because toughness of schedule is one thing. The player's attributes and stats are another. That's a whole nother realm of stuff that not a lot of people look at.
Yeah, you got guys get drafted a lot on attributes.
Right.
Otherwise, Will Howard would be going higher than everybody because he's got a lot more accolades and a lot more.
Yes.
Right.
Will Howard,
says
second round.
He's a glorified Mac Jones. Bam. Thank you.
All right. Speaking of, we'll see.
Disagree. But
yeah, I did. Disagree. I don't know about that. Speaking of college quarterbacks, Shrine Bowl. Both Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl. We're going to hit those topics real quick. First, the Shrine Bowl. CBS Sports' Mike Renner and Ryan Wilson wrote a couple articles about the quarterbacks that participated or didn't participate. First one we want to talk about is Sanders. He did not participate at Shrine Week. He was told by the top 3 teams, "You're good. We saw enough of you. You don't need to participate."
Do you guys buy that? Because it's that.
Damn.
And he just Streamlabs hates Chad. He was waiting for this section too. I feel bad for him. Hopefully it happened.
He'll be back.
Yeah. So the top 3 teams, I don't agree with. I don't think the top three teams told him not to participate. I think he told them that he's not participating, and they agreed to it. They're like, oh, sure, why not? Like we just want to talk with you anyways. That's my take on that. I wish Chad had a more insightful take because, to be honest with you, Shrine Bowl, I'm not too much on knowledgeable on. I read up on it. Up there he is. He's back. He made it. Are you gonna have to switch the screens around?
I did not. No, not today.
No. Okay.
I did it earlier, but I did. Oh, now Angel's gone. You got to be kidding me, dude.
That's why I said there's something going on centrally.
Dude, seriously, it's like when you guys start talking crap, it boots you guys.
For the record, a lot of times, like, you guys are the ones that disappear, and I used to think like, oh, they bumped off for a second, and now it took a couple episodes to be like, oh, I'm the one that's gone. That's why I'm the only one on screen. When you guys disappear, I'm still there to me. But where did we leave off? What did we miss?
We were talking about. I'm sending him a new link.
I just used the
Sanders
old one.
did not practice during Shrine Week, and who told him not to? And I heard there was a couple teams that said don't practice. I heard there was 3.
The rumor was the top 3, which gives you pause. I don't know if it's true though, because like the teams didn't say that, but like word came out of the camps that like he was told by top 3 teams not to practice, which would almost assure you, if this is true, he's going New York at the latest.
New York.
It would be kind of great. I would be surprised to know that a team this early in the process was like, we're set on this guy for sure. Like, don't even practice.
Yeah. So
you
said
think we're dropping because we got so many viewers right now.
Really?
1,051.
They're trying to hate on us. Stop hating. You hate us because you ain't us. Either way,
I don't know if
you
it's
say?
true,
I didn't miss
but
what you. What did you say? I missed that because
I just
basically
said I don't know if that's true, but if it is true, he's obviously not falling past the Giants. My question is, that could be just something that's coming out to like by his own camp to like get his buzz even higher. Or just an excuse not to practice. You could just be like, I'm not practicing. I'm not doing this tribal thing. But let's just say it's because I don't have to.
I said before when you got off that he told the 3 teams, listen, I'm not practicing, and the teams were like, well, it's cool. We just want to talk with you anyways. Cool. Yeah. So they probably had
and they might. I don't think a player like that highly rated gets as much out of these Shrine Bowls as people from his one plus is he didn't come from the biggest program. Yeah. And he played only a couple big games against top level competition. So that's always nice to see. But it's also, if you wanted to show something, like the Senior Bowl is the bigger game. Yeah. I guess my thing is, I would be surprised at this point, unless you've got like there's certain guys, like there's certain years where like people knew, the Jaguars knew they were taking Trevor Lawrence. He was the consensus #1 quarterback that year. Like they didn't have a lot to see. They knew they needed a quarterback. This year, there's not a consensus #1 quarterback, and there's some teams up top that may or may not take one. So I would just be surprised that 1 month into the process, like we've already decided to take it. So I don't believe it.
Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence.
He might
obviously hasn't worked out, but at the time he came out, he's one of the highest graded college prospects ever, and he was so consensusly above the other guys that if you were taking a quarterback up top, you knew that was the one you were taking. There wasn't
and that brings us on
consideration.
Kyle McCord was the best quarterback practicing at.
That's what I heard from Renner and Wilson.
Bowl. Yeah.
And now, of course, this didn't have the quarterback room that the Senior Bowl had. So like the competition wasn't great, but they said like out of everybody there, Kyle McCord kind of looked better than anybody else that was in the building. And the names are a lot of guys that don't have the clout of who was either invited to or at the Senior Bowl. But somebody basically told Mike Renner, from one of the scouts told Mike Renner essentially that he after watching the quarterbacks at the Shrine Bowl, he's like, had Sanders played, it wasn't even going to be competitive. He was going to be head and shoulders above everybody else there. Kyle McCord, after seeing like Kyle McCord be the number one guy there, he's like, it's not even the same level of quarterback.
But how do you say that?
I thought
though?
that was interesting.
You're playing against the best
because they've been
the
scouting
best
this
in
guy.
college.
They've been scouting these guys for 2-3 years, watching them play. I think you can watch a quarterback throw and go like, oh.
Colton said
those guys aren't.
Colton on Facebook says, if I'm an NFL GM, I'm not going after Sanders. I don't think he will be much in the NFL. I think he's got a big chip on his shoulder and more things that won't make him a above average quarterback. I have a question for you. Why do people not like Sanders?
Because they are
Okay. So
I think one, they're terrified of drama. Two, they're so afraid of the potential of rejection from him that they're like, no, I don't even want to pick him.
But if your reasons are for rejection and his dad, I don't understand that, because if he's a good quarterback and hypothetically if he's willing to come here and all that noise is just noise and it brings fear upon the Browns fans, which is understandable. I have a question, because I believe there was a quarterback that came out of a draft that grabbed his balls on the sidelines, that planted a flag on Ohio State's field, and he was running away from cops because he was intoxicated in public, and fans still loved him without question. And the only
a lot of people didn't want to draft him ahead of time. They didn't love him till he was here.
Oh, but
I knew a lot of friends when he got drafted that were like, no, I hate him.
Yeah, but there was still a lot I feel there was a lot more that wanted Baker here as opposed they want Shedeur here. And Shedeur, to me,
one reason, because he went on a press conference and he said, I want to go to Cleveland because I could turn that place around.
Yeah,
and
of course.
That's typical. We're like,
he was the number one pick.
Cleveland.
Any quarterback is going to say that. They were the number one pick. Of course, I would say the same thing too, because I wanted to be picked first. Like, I don't understand like the fans. I should say I understand the fans' fear of Shedeur and his rejection and the fear of his dad saying stuff. But if he is the best, I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in this draft. I don't know. What I'm saying is what I've seen, what I've read, and what I've looked into. If you look at the numbers and what he presents, he may be the best for Kevin's system. We're not going to get too deep into it because we have a show to go into. But fans, understand this. If Shedeur is the quarterback at number 2 you pick, he's going to be a lot better than any quarterback that you've had since Baker Mayfield.
Probably. So that brings me to two things. Number one, the third part of that, like, so fans are afraid of the rejection. Fans are afraid of like the nightmare with his dad, because everybody's like, oh, it's like Odell Beckham. I don't know if that's true, and the third one is people keep getting told this is a weak quarterback class. So they assume, well, then he must be a weak quarterback. And so it's not worth the drama and problems. But I don't know when they say it's a weak quarterback class. Like, he's got mixed reviews. I'll admit that.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know the Browns' review on him. And I've heard about 40% of people have him at quarterback 1, and about 60 to 70, depending on how many sources you're looking at, have him at number 2. People say that there's other people out there that have him lower. I haven't seen any of the inside stuff from any direct scouts from anything. I just keep hearing like these, one scout has him as their 4th. And I'm like, I don't know who that is. And until I do, like, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I wish I could, but like there's a lot of public stuff out there. And even those critical of him still have him as number 2, and pretty clearly number 2. So
another thing you got to look at the end of the day, when the free agency comes up, the Browns have 29 free agents of positions you're going to need to fill and or get from other teams. Like, you can't sit here and say right now, logistically, I love that word, by the way, say who we're going to draft. It's all going to be on a needs-based.
Yeah.
It's always needs-based. Everybody says it's
100%.
best available. It's best available at a position that you value highly and probably need.
Well, here's my other thing.
That's it.
The Cleveland curse. We've drafted quarterbacks in the first round. We've drafted quarterbacks that we built up throughout the year, like the offseason, and everybody's in high hopes of this guy. Then he comes here and completely fails. Bombs. I don't want to do that again.
I'm not worried about. My big worry comes from the high hopes, because I think that is a Cleveland problem.
Yeah.
It's the same reason I tell people, like, I wish you would stop, like, pumping up Jackson Dart and Will Howard, because you're going to create this buzz around, like, Browns Nation that this is the guy. He can't fail. He's our guy. And then you're talking about a guy that you might draft in, like, the third round. I remember that buzz coming around Colt McCoy. People were like, oh, this guy's the guy. He's changed everything. I'm like, this guy was a third-round pick. He is such a long shot at being the guy. But the buzz got so big that he was going to save the day. And that's a Cleveland problem. Like, get realistic expectations and stop thinking that every guy that comes here is going to be the guy. Take it, like, a little more realistic.
Yeah, and read some scouting. Not all scoutings are wrong. Some of them, sometimes are wrong. I'm not saying that it's dead on. But if you read the scouting, you'll have more of a feel of, like, who can be a better quarterback for the system in which Kevin is running. Kevin and Tommy's running. Like, you do.
And also, I'm not even counting out that somebody may pick either that Tennessee either takes Sanders first, or somebody trades up to that spot to take Sanders first. Or Tennessee just goes, I'm telling the truth about wanting the elite asset. We're taking either Carter or Hunter. And now we have both of those two people on the board to choose from. And I think fans have already been like, I assume, because I've seen Cam Ward ranked higher 65% of the time, that he must go first. And it's like, but it doesn't matter if one of those 35% like Sanders better. That's who's going first, man. They're not just going to be like, well, we like Sanders better, but I keep seeing these mock drafts have Cam first, so that's what I'm taking. That's not how the draft works.
Yep.
So many people didn't have Mitch Trubisky first, but somebody did, and he went ahead of all the other quarterbacks.
I'm going to tell you right now, if I hear one more Cleveland Browns fan say we could have had Josh Allen, I will come to the stadium and gladly drop.
We could have had Josh
outside of the stadium.
We could have had him. We could have had Lamar. We could have had Patrick Mahomes. We could have had. We could have, should have, would have, but we didn't know that.
We could have also picked Baker Mayfield and not changed offensive coordinators and head coaches seven times in the first 3 years. Like,
and give them receivers.
There's a lot of things we could do. Yeah. But
you should have. It started with OBJ. You should not even touched him. That's when the drama started with him, at least. But
that was a problem.
Yeah.
By the way, that was John Dorsey, Cleveland's beloved John Dorsey, who came here and picked like 3 good players and then bounced, and he's like somehow a Cleveland legend.
Yeah.
Not saying he's bad at his job. I'm just saying a little overrated.
Look what he did in Detroit.
We better
it's on to the next topic.
Into the Senior Bowl.
I want to say one thing really quick before everybody jumps down my throat for this. Yes, the Cleveland Browns picked Deshaun Watson on a whim, thinking he was going to be able to come back and ball like he used to in Houston. Unfortunately, it did not happen. It's time to get over that, okay? We all have to get over that.
That's one of the people that we should have had realistic expectations for, because we've already seen that he was a good NFL player. That was the one person I would say maybe Baker Mayfield, but Deshaun should have been one of the few people that had the resume and like clout to say, yeah, this should probably work out. And it didn't.
I'm going to tell you exactly what happened.
Most people thought it would.
We got a taste of the playoffs. We lost in the playoffs. Andrew Berry and the Haslam's got together and said, what can we do to take this to the next step? And they brought in Dickhead. I'm going to call him that. Dickhead.
Well, they saw what Patty was doing in Kansas City and say, well, can Baker be better than Patty?
And not only
quarterback?
Right. Here's the thing, though.
In our own league, we have Lamar and we have Burrow, and they're like, we're not going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Can't compete with that.
Quarterback.
Here's the thing.
In our division.
They tried. They thought it was going to work. Give them an A for effort.
And they still trying.
I hate the trade. Don't get me wrong. I hate the money. I hate the trade. But at the end of the day,
they tried.
You
miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
What other analogy can we use?
Damn, now we see where Angel stands. But no, I think they tried, and it failed.
I think Angel's a little higher for me on picking that quarterback second. I'm just more open to it. A lot of fans. I think I say stuff online like, hey, most of the quarterbacks that take you to the Super Bowl are picked in the first round, which is true. People freak out about it, but it's true. Most of the quarterbacks that consistently go to the playoffs were picked in the first round. Most of the ones that make it to the championship games are first rounders. That doesn't mean everybody in the first round works, but it means if you have a guy
better percentage
rated as a first rounder, you probably take him. And if you don't, you pass, because Kenny Pickett wasn't one, and Mitch Trubisky wasn't one, and we have countless examples. Josh Rosen isn't one. Like, if you You're going to miss on those guys sometimes, but that is just up to your evaluation. And we know that's the hardest position to predict because it's so much different. It's so much more up top and so much less physical than the rest of the game. And you can't see that on college tape.
Speaking of college quarterbacks with a good head, in my opinion, Cam Ward had a Senior Bowl invite but did not practice. He did not practice.
Told by several teams not to again.
Yeah, he probably a similar situation. Yeah, he's like they're like I don't have anything to prove here. I can only have a bad week.
Yeah, Ewers did not practice due to injury. I'm sorry, Angel. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, we're gonna breeze through this. Yeah, neither did yours. Who is
which
now
is a bummer because he really could have used it.
Yeah, he could have to hype.
He is such a wishy-washy evaluation. I would like to remind people, by the way.
Gosh,
last year,
I know Angel likes
just for a reminder to all the fans, we finished last year's draft, that beautiful quarterback draft, one of the best we've seen. It may go down in history as like one of the better quarterback drafts ever. They had six guys go in the first round, and all of them that we've seen so far look like they can play. JJ's the only guy that didn't play.
And by the way, they during that draft, there was a lot of like, why are teams doing this? There's still a lot of buzz about like, is this the right move?
Yeah,
because a lot of those quarterbacks weren't going to go that high anyways. Right. But yeah,
Penix and Nix were predicted to fall, and actually I think they both had second round grades from some scouts that I had looked back at. But I remember after that draft, people said, "But don't worry, because next year's draft's going to be great." There's Sanders, and then above him there's Quinn Ewers, and then above him the consensus #1 choice, Carson Beck. I just want to remind everybody who's basically looking at this year's quarterback draft as draft next year's quarterback is Carson Beck's not even in this draft anymore because college kids can make $6 million to stay in school. And Quinn Ewers, nobody in Cleveland wants. And those were the top 2 prospects.
Oh, wow, cool. It's just me now. Everybody left. Awesome. Oh, Chad's back.
People is Jalen Milroe. So you're looking at going at the end of 2024, you're thinking next year, oh man, we're getting Milroe, Becker, Ewers. This is why you don't tank a year early for the draft pick, because Milroe looks like he's going to be. We'll get to him. He's He's got a nightmare review. Ewers has an even worse nightmare review, and Carson Beck's not in the draft. I bring that up because half of my conversations when I say you like.
This is gotta be kidding me, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. It's you're gonna have to wait a second, Chad. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, dude. I can't
go there for this.
There you are.
Mike is moving us around on the I'm on your picture and you're on mine. Now he's switching it.
I don't mind being over here than being over here.
Yeah.
No, it's not that. Now I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, with the Senior Bowl and all the bowls this weekend or last weekend, you've seen guys that were number 1, 2, 3 picks change. Everything changes just because of that one little Shrine Bowl or Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's why I think somebody like Ewers should have. He shouldn't have. If he's injured, he's injured. But it would have been beneficial for him to do it because he needs all the help he can get of somebody changing their view of him. He had an injury-prone year. He had a less productive year than last year. This was not what was predicted for him at the end of 2023. People thought he was going to be like a 2024 star. He was going to play over Manning. He got benched once or twice. Like, bad year for him. And then the other guy that like doesn't have anything to prove, he might have done the best. He might have had the biggest actual like late rise ever is Will Howard. People have a much higher opinion of him at watching him. I mean, we lost to Michigan and people were like, well, this guy's a dump. Get him the heck out of here. And then a month later, people are like, he may be moving himself up to the 3rd or 4th quarterback in this draft.
He's our savior now. Look at this guy.
Next year, would you guys draft a Manning just because of his last name?
I don't think he's going to come out next year.
I don't think he's going to come out next year, according to his parents. Also,
hey, would you trust Manning to come out and be on your team, considering what Eli did? Would you think they're not going to try to manipulate the draft too?
Right.
That's fair.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
let's
if you're
talk
worried about
about
Sanders,
that.
you should be worried about
Exactly.
Arch.
Because Eli
also,
actually did it.
Great point.
Yeah, but also that's a great. I don't know how I haven't even thought of that yet. Yeah, this has actually happened in the Manning family. But again, like we said, like what if he doesn't come out? What if he gets hurt and so he decides to stay? Newsflash: rookie quarterbacks in the NFL make less than good college quarterbacks now. They're not going to rush out like they used to. They used to be like, I'm 20 and a half. If I get in the draft now, it's the fastest I'll get to free agency. That's not the case anymore. Now they can play 2 more years and make $6 million a year, and that's pretty darn good to have before you even graduate college. So,
Facts.
But yeah, so Howard didn't participate. What I found strange was the quarterback from Notre Dame did participate,
Leonard.
even though he was told
Right.
He was told you don't have to because you just went through this, but he did participate. So, and then Dart and Milroe participated, and they were kind of like the main attractions that people are really, really interested in loving or hating.
Obviously Barry loves Dart. Most of Cleveland loves Dart also.
Dart has Cleveland love already.
Yeah, he started off terribly, probably because of this, being under center. He's not familiar being under center with the system that he runs. But he improved as the week went on, and now I think he's probably going to even rise even more once the underwear Olympics kick in. Before we go on, I want to say Marcus said something that is true. You draft the guy who's best for Kevin's system. I don't care who it is. I agree, 100%. You draft.
It will have something to do with it.
Yeah,
that's something Spielman said. He's like, what's funny is, as draft analysts, we all look at like just who is our best player on our board. He's like, but I've been in the room, and realistically, you have to pick a guy that fits what you're doing. And he's like, sometimes you overthink that a little bit, because there have been people who have been like, oh, we don't want to take this tight end because we want somebody who blocks more all around. And he's like, I learned from those mistakes early that if you have somebody that's really good, you find ways to use him. But he does say, like, there's definitely people that are scheme fits, which has been a huge problem for the Browns because they change coaches every 2 years and then they have to change schemes. And fans don't seem to understand that. That's why if you have a coach that has some upside, you keep him, because if you keep changing schemes, the guys you drafted to fit Schwartz's offense and Kevin's offense and Schwartz's defense don't fit the same and may take a drop in the next scheme. So
I agree. But yeah, we'll go back to Dart. Started terribly, but ended much better. Solidify his spot as maybe top 3, at least third round pick. I actually thought he would be in the third round anyways, but one of the top 3.
It was kind of funny to hear that because on this pod, they basically said, yeah, we think he's the third quarterback, but we also still think he's probably a third rounder. And I was like, that's kind of interesting to hear that there's going to be that big of a gap, because some people I've heard think Dart could slide right up to the top of the second or the end of the first round. And I've seen people in mocks have him as high as like the 6th pick. So I've just never seen somebody with that shifty of an evaluation. And that's what makes me so nervous about him, is because I just can't grasp around how people have him rated in the 3rd to 5th round and then also rated as the 3rd to 5th pick. And it's like, that's
what I read about him was like his maturity right now is a question mark. A lot of when he's interviewing, he seems not to speak correctly, or speaks the word someone said was smartly, which doesn't make sense. He doesn't speak with confidence yet, and they're worried about his maturity. He's got to be poised. Yeah, he's not mature enough, so they're worried about that. Also, back to yours real quick. What confuses me about yours is like he's like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like he looks so good, and then like the next week it's like, man, this dude sucks. Like I was hoping that he would rise the whole year and hoping that he would be in the Browns quarterback uniform, but I don't care about him anymore.
And I'm not opposed. Once again, I'm not opposed to the guy. I just am very nervous about the guy.
Yeah, I agree.
He is like I'm not as nervous. I'm more nervous about some other guys, but like there are certain guys who I feel are don't have as much upside, but like are much steadier picks. Like he makes me nervous with the fact that the evaluation is that variable. I just haven't seen something about that.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Sam says, P.S. Jameis Winston for the new voice of the NFL. That guy was the best part of the Super Bowl for me.
Oh my God.
Absolutely hilarious.
Did you guys see the part about the
He's a
dance? The Super
national
Bowl
treasure.
Yeah.
Oh God. The fact that he told AJ Brown to do that
And
end
he
zone
did
dance
it.
and he actually did it. And then while he's doing it,
He's showing Bert Crusher.
Jameis in the stands like, look,
Yeah,
I told him to
I
do
did
that.
it. Yeah.
Did you see people throwing lobster at him?
Yeah.
Oh,
Crab
man,
legs.
I love
Crab leg,
him.
yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. Like the fact that he has embraced that crab thing. I saw the commercial of him like selling crab legs. I'm like,
Yep.
the fact that he has like embraced that is just he's a treasure. He's a treasure. I wish we could have him back. If we end up picking a quarterback early, I know free agency will already be over, but if we're picking a quarterback early, I just think he'd be so fun to have around.
The guy would be elite if he could just, the Lord could legit deliver
Nah,
him from
man.
picks.
Ain't no
If there weren't
delivering.
interceptions, he'd be incredible. Yeah.
Ain't no that's who he is, folks. So if he comes back, no complaining about those picks. I guess that's it, folks. Kind of want to hit on Dane Brugler real quick. On Sanders, it says teams all agree that he's good, disagree on his ceiling and ability to elevate, which may be a problem to some teams. Some teams like I just need him good enough to win.
That's my biggest problem.
Maybe like a Seattle or a Pittsburgh even.
Here's
but
what-
he
but
probably
here's
won't
what-
fall that far.
He's had a lot of evaluations. I've seen one grade that gave me pause, and it's brought up the question. I'll probably throw a poll on Twitter about it too, but I wanted to propose it to you guys too. I've seen the overall grade, and an overall grade is just a compilation. It doesn't mean he has the same arm strength grade, same mobility. It's for different reasons, but his overall grade on one source that's been pretty consistent ended him with the exact same grade that Baker Mayfield had. If I could give you that was true, and maybe not all the same attributes, definitely not the same up top. They don't have the same mentality or personality at all, but physically, as a quarterback, if I told you he is going to be the same overall level of quarterback as Baker Mayfield, would you take him number 2?
Yeah. Right? I mean, we sitting there saying, why did we get rid of Baker Mayfield? If you can bring a Baker Mayfield with a different skin color in here and play like Baker Mayfield, why are we saying no about it? Especially if you have better receiving talent around him, put a better offensive line around him.
I was just curious. It made me think of it when I saw the grade, and I was like, oh, he actually ended up with the same grade from this scout
too, yes.
of Baker Mayfield. And I was
that's why I brought up
would take that again.
That's why I brought up the similar thing, because people were saying Baker, we love Baker. The only off the field issue Sanders has compared to Baker at the time when they were coming out was his dad. And Baker had all these other
more
issues.
flags. Yeah, I think Baker had more flags coming out than Sanders has.
That Cowherd was complaining about his maturity. Now he loves him, which is weird. But yeah.
My biggest thing is whatever quarterback we bring here has to have a steady mind. The NFL is completely different than college. And you have to be ready for that. You have to be prepared to come and play in the elite of the world.
Which is one of the things I actually like about Sanders, because I think
he does. I agree.
He will understand what it takes. And I honestly think people think his dad will be a problem with the coaching. And I can see the reasons why. You don't want his dad wanting one thing and the coaches wanting the other. And so, like, I don't want to get too stuck on him because, like I said, he might not even be the guy they take. But I do think I'm not worried about his ability to understand what this game actually. I don't think it'll take him getting cut from 4 teams or picked up by 4 different teams to say, I got to start taking my film study and my practice more seriously. I think his dad will force him to understand that immediately. Because his dad wasn't just an athlete. His dad grinded.
James said earlier, bring the best quarterback that will work with Kevin Stefanski's offense. And I agree to that. But in the same token, like, you have to find a guy that doesn't want to play just shotgun.
Yeah, he's going to have to learn to play under center for sure. I also add this, that if you want a quarterback who knows how to win, look at him, because he took a team, or NCAA college football team that maybe won 1 or 2 games a year, and he made them into 5, 6, 7, 8 game winning team, 9 game winning team. Now, yes, there are red flags. He struggled against BYU, who has a better defensive from an NFL. There's a lot of questions, but this, I don't mean this to be a sell Sanders show, but I don't want people to be alarmed as if your only reason is because of his dad, and if we end up drafting like Jazz, we're not even drafted, dude. But if we do, there's upside. Look into it. Do your Google searches and look at what is good about Sanders.
I'm gonna stop you. Please don't tell me you believe everything you read on Google.
I mean, the scouts, I do at least. Some scouts are smart out there. They're smarter than me, these scouts. I've been following him since he was probably in high school.
I asked Chad for medical help, and he said, "Did you Google it?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Don't ever do that again."
Don't Google it, yeah.
Left toe
Which
cramping.
is the thing, too, though. You don't want to Google, like, that's why I think these reviews sometimes are all over it, because people Google and they're like, well, I saw this mock draft, and I saw this. And it's like, find a source that you can trust and follow that, and maybe get a couple sources that are trustworthy. But don't just, like, Mary Kay Cabot can rank her quarterbacks if she wants. I don't know that she knows how to grade quarterback. Like, I don't care. Like, I know who she is, but I don't know that she can evaluate a quarterback. I don't know that Steve Smith, just because he played football with quarterbacks throwing him the ball, can actually evaluate a quarterback. So, like, I'm not listening to him about, like, which quarterback do you like? Like, he's probably got an agenda. Like, there's certain people, like, that do this for a living. Find them, look at their track record of the past. If you find a note from 2018 that was like Josh Rosen or bust, maybe that's not a guy you want to trust. But if you had a guy that was like, well, I think Josh Allen's a stud, I think Lamar's really underrated, and Baker's pretty good, like, yeah, that's a guy that you probably follow what he did the next couple of years.
No talent.
See what he has to say about this class.
James says, I Google health symptoms and find out that I'm dying tomorrow.
Yeah, sorry about your lupus, James.
So
because
with that,
every time you look up symptoms, it comes up as lupus.
So we got to end the show, guys. It's getting late. I got a girl to put to bed, my daughter. She's waiting for me. But this was a fun one. Thank you. Sorry that we've been dropping off. We got to figure that out. Thanks for tuning in, though, enjoying the show, commenting. Please continue to like, follow, subscribe on all our social media. Shout out to Beard Gains, our affiliate, beardgains.com. Use Bearded Browns at checkout. You receive 10%. Also, Doug White, Allstate Insurance, located locally in
Olmsted Falls.
And he go there, see if he can hook you up with a little insurance quote to save you some money. Let him know that Bearded Brown sent you. With that being said, like always, go Browns.